here with my guy, Marcus Pollard. Marcus Pollard, welcome to the Intangible Podcast. Really excited to jump into your story. And I mean, you've taken a very interesting track to get to the NFL, and you're ready to stick around. And so really excited to dive into who you are and where you come from, man. Welcome to the Intangible Podcast.
Appreciate it, Chris. I'm excited about it, man. Anytime I get a chance to chop it up with an old teammate, discuss old times and connect and reconnect and laugh and have a great time, I'm all about it. I think this will be a great episode.
Yeah. Now, Marcus, you're sitting here and I see this. You got this whiteboard behind you, like you are, a school teacher. Are you teaching history? What do you mean? I see you got your plants up on the shelf there, trying to get some fresh air in an office. I'm assuming you in. What do you got going on back there?
So the board behind me is I played football for a long time. Sometimes I don't remember as well as I should. So that whiteboard is where I write my notes. You got to tie your shoes. You got to eat lunch today. And I also take time to write quotes that I love to hear. I write them on that board as well. So just reminders of things that I need to do. And then the plant, doing what I do in player engagement, I just try to make the office a little bit more vibrant, comfortable. So when guys come in, it's not stuffed and sticky. It's like, okay, this is a vibrant little space. So like a little man cave.
All right. Well, what I'm going to have you do is start sending me quotes every day, first thing in the morning. Can I get you to remember to do that for me?
I'm going to have to write it on the whiteboard.
You're going to write it on the board?
Let me turn and write it right now.
Okay. Yeah. Because you're going to forget by the end of this episode.
That's right.
So,
yes, right.
Yeah.
I'm going to write it right here so then I'll remember.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, and you got your sticky pads. Perfect.
Oh, yeah. They stay around.
Perfect. Well, Marcus, man, before we kind of get into, how you've gotten to, where you are, I want to go back to, growing up in Alabama and how did, growing up in your community, how you grew up, how did that start to shape your mindset and shape the person that you've become today?
Yeah, Chris, that's a great question. It's probably very similar to you growing up in Mississippi. Country boy, love hunting, fishing, riding bikes, as we were talking about earlier. But I think having that time in a small town gave me the ability to live and learn, to make my mistakes, to bump my head, to scratch my knee, to climb a tree, fall and break my leg, or have my mom yell at me because the street lights are on and you're not home yet. So growing up, that really shaped me to give me the ability to learn to do things on my own without having a helicopter mom and dad around. So it gave me opportunities to grow, to develop. And having a community, I'm certain very similar to where you grew up. So if you did something down the street, I got a spanking down the street, got another spanking because they saw me cutting up on the way home. Then I got another one when I got to the house. So to me, that whole adage of it takes a village. And that was how I grew up. If I did something across the street, I'm going to get it over there and then I'm going to get it again when I got home. But to me, it's just that whole sense of family and everybody cared about you and everybody was looking out for you.
Yeah, that's. I mean, very, very, very similar. But I will say that the thing that stuck out to me, what you just said, is that you got one on the, before you got home, you got another one, on your way home, and then you got another one when you got home. Man, what were you doing?
I was a bad boy. I was never a bad kid, but sometimes I do things. I love to throw rocks when I was a kid, and I probably broke somebody's window. And breaking somebody's window. Oh yeah, just being a kid,
Yeah.
Break a window. Yeah. That house window I broke, they came out, got me for breaking it, and then they saw me getting a spanking across the street. Let me get him too. He threw a rock at my house, didn't break the window, and then both of them called my mom by the time I got to the house. Oh, you broke Miss what's the name window, right? Oh, come on in this house. You about to get another one. And so it was just that whole sense of family. And but I didn't get very many of those. Most times I just got them from my mom.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And so, how was your household, man? Did you grow up in a big family? A lot of cousins. I mean, I can imagine. Like you said, Alabama, Mississippi. My family was very, very big, and so there wasn't a shortage of people around, and definitely a lot of food to eat. And so, how was that growing up for you?
Yeah, my grandparents had 13 kids, and then all of them had at least 3 kids. And so my family dynamic, when it came to my whole family, was big. And if we have Christmas Day at my grandparents' house, it wouldn't be any space to sit. All the couches, chairs, all would be taken. People be standing around the wall. And so it was always a great time growing up. My mom oftentimes worked 2 jobs. My sister and I were what they call latchkey kids. Don't you let nobody in this house. You're going to be here by yourself. I wrote the rules on the board. Your lunch and dinner's in the refrigerator. Don't let nobody in this house do this homework, and you go to bed. And so just having that sense of responsibility that my mom gave us really taught us a lot too, taught us to be responsible. She trusted us enough to know, and we were afraid of her to get in trouble. Then we're going to get another spanking. So there was a lot of spankings in my family growing up. But we came up in a really big family, really close to all my cousins now. We still have a great relationship. You know, every 4th of July is that time in the South where people get together and connect for 4th of July. So we still do those events. And always a great time for me, even when I was a player, going back to seeing my family and knowing that sense of family and value. I never got too big for what was important to me. And it was always family for me. It still is. Even to this day, we're going to have another one this 4th of July. And I'm excited to go back home. It never gets old. It's always great to see family, and it's always a great time.
Yeah, well, I guess before I really move off that topic, you know, what are you taking home for you got to bring a dish. What dish are you bringing home?
So I don't really have to bring a dish. I'm going to put my expertise on the grill. That's my deal.
Here we go.
The grill. I'm the grill master. I'm the grill master. So growing up, I always watched my granddad cook on the grill. He made his own sauce. He made his own. It's kind of like water and vinegar to keep the fire down so you don't burn the meat. So I watched him do that. Then my uncle took over. My granddad passed, and my uncle took over. So then when he passed, they just passed the mantle to me because I was always just standing around and watched him cook. Again, he would go back talking about family and values and how some things are caught and not necessarily taught. You know what I mean? They didn't teach me, hey, Marcus, you need to make sure you do this, make sure you do that. You just standing around watching, you just catch stuff. And that's what I did as a grill master, watching them do it for so long. And then now the mantle just been passed to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, I'm you know, looking at your lineages here, I'm sitting there thinking about, you know, you growing up in Mississippi, growing up in Alabama, close to Mississippi, surrounded by Tennessee, Georgia. How did you get through your childhood not playing football?
Well, I did play football. I just didn't play football in college. So growing up, we would always have certain, you did do the same thing, Chris. You found a field. Oftentimes we played because cemeteries had the best grass. And so sometimes we go to the cemetery and play pickup tackle. You throw it up, somebody get the ball and they run with it and then they get tackled. Sometimes we hit our head on a rock, on stone, right? And so I grew up playing all sports. But then when I got to college, I decided I wasn't going to play football anymore, and I just played basketball in college. And then I transitioned back to playing football again in the pros. But I always grew up playing football. Okay.
So even in high school, did you play tight end in high school, or were you, a receiver? You thought you were one of those fast scat guys?
Actually, I played defense most of my high school career. I played tight end 1 year, and it was my senior season. The guys that were playing tight end before me, they graduated and said, hey, we're going to stick you in at tight end. I had 1 catch, 1 touchdown in high school, but I was a defensive end. We played a stand-up outside linebacker. It was a 4-man front, but the 2 outside defensive ends were stand-up, so we called it a 26 defense, but it was really a 4-4 defense. So, but it was good time for me. I had some really good teammates growing up. 2 of my teammates actually made it to the pros. Lamaski Hall and John Copeland were on Alabama's national championship team in 92, 93, I believe.
Tell it age.
I can't hide it. That's why I try to work out and try to stay as young as possible. But just had some really good teammates, had some really good teams growing up in high school.
Were you recruited in football in high school?
A little bit. I can't say I was a heavily recruited guy. But I did have some offers from the SEC schools. I had some smaller offers from some smaller schools. But I really didn't know what was going on. So much different now than when my son was being recruited a few years ago. Just the technology and the understanding of what was going on. My mom had never experienced what recruiting was about. My dad never graduated high school. And so it was really tough to figure out, okay, what is all this mail? What does it all mean? And but I spent a lot of time going on the weekends to Auburn University. They were heavily recruiting me to play football, and I would go down unofficials every other weekend. Alabama had some interest. Ole Miss, I had some interest. And so just an opportunity to play. But I just was, my mom and I were afraid that I would go and get hurt playing football and lose the scholarship. We didn't know. Yeah. We just didn't understand. And so if you heard, my mom heard, if you get hurt, you lose your scholarship. She was like, we're not doing that. My mom was all about education because she was a teacher. Right. And so she was like, no, you're going to play basketball. So that's what I did. And played basketball in college, and then opportunity presented itself again to play football, and I took it and ran with it.
Yeah. I mean, you went on to be a standout at Bradley University in basketball. What was that transition like of, on the edge of going to play football, but saying, okay, I'm going to stick with some basketball and go there? What was that mindset like once you got to Bradley? Yeah.
To go back a little bit before Bradley, I went to a junior college in BFE, Kansas. It was tumbleweeds, dirt roads. I was like, oh my God, what? I have fallen back into a cowboy Western movie. I'm telling you, like, what is this? It was so foreign to me because I'm so used to growing up in the South where you get pine trees and grass and hardwoods and rivers and buildings. Man, it was just so desolate and flat, wind and dust blowing everywhere. I was like, what have I done? But I didn't make my ACT score coming out of high school, so I had to go to a junior college to play basketball, then transferred to Bradley. Then getting to Bradley, it was the biggest city that I had ever spent any time in because it was a city. I would travel occasionally to Atlanta because it was about an hour away from where I grew up. But living in Peoria, Illinois, where Bradley is, gave me an opportunity to kind of get a little bit of a city feel, a city vibe, and to play at an institution like Bradley basketball was everything. I mean, we have 9,000 people at a basketball game. And to me, that was big time because I'd never played in more in front of about 200 people. So to go to an arena and you playing in front of 9,000 was pretty exciting times for me.
Yeah. Mark, let's talk about not making your ACT score coming out of high school. I was one of those guys, the same thing, ACT, that taking that test was like just so stressful for me. But a lot of kids probably go through that challenge of not being able to make an ACT score. How did you handle that? Coming out, was there shame? Was there embarrassment? Or did you even know? You were just kind of like, okay, I didn't make my score. What was going on internally for you around all that?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. And you hit both of them on the head. I was a little bit of shame, a little embarrassment because anytime you are an athlete, you want to compete and be the absolute best. And to know that I didn't meet the mark, it was like, oh God, I was embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I didn't feel like I did my absolute best. But then I also had a little bit of that. Well, I didn't know the importance of why did I need an ACT score? What's the value of having 18 or 19? I don't know what it was at the time on ACT. What does it mean? And so it was a little bit of being a little bit naive, my mom not knowing, and me not understanding the value of what it meant to get a 18 and 19 on a ACT score. So, but I worked my way through it. And to me, that's the best thing about it, that sometimes you don't know who you really are. And sometimes till you hit adversity. Yeah. And that was my first time hitting some adversity. Well, I didn't get what I thought I should have gotten. How could I respond? What did I do to respond? And I just pulled my boots up, put my boots on, put my work gloves on, and I just went to work at a junior college and did everything I could to get my grades up at my junior college and transferred to Bradley.
Yeah. I was fortunate that they had I was a Prop 48 at the time. So I had the academics in school, just could not get over the hump with the ACT score. And so I was able to go to get to Ole Miss and then kind of do the summer school and test, complete all my courses there to get in, to make sure I can get in. So I was fortunate to be able to go through that process to do that so they could see the other side of me versus like this one test that says, you in or out, and so I know same thing for me. It was just a lot of shame and embarrassing around it because I went to a high school that was it was a very prestigious high school in Mississippi, Madison Central High School, and a lot of kids were making 28s and 30s on the ACT, and here I am, I'm struggling with it. And so there was a lot of embarrassment around there, and fortunate because I was on the prop side that it didn't hit where, okay, you got to go to a junior college. I think I probably would have spiraled out more if that was the case. But I will say that for young kids who are struggling with this process, who have test anxiety, who has, some type of neurodivergent, whether it's dyslexia, which is what I have, there's always different paths for you. And then, so it doesn't mean that you can't get there. It just means that you may have to, swallow it, understand it, and do like you just said, all right, I gotta pull up my bootstraps and I gotta work harder and get, to get to where I want to be. And so it doesn't hinder you. It just puts you in a place where now I got to work a little bit different to get to where I want to go. And so thanks for sharing that, man, because I think that's something that, is not talked about enough when it comes to these things, because it is an embarrassing thing. And, kind of now that we can look back from a hindsight, hopefully, a young kid, by us talking about it this way, a young kid realize that, okay, it's not over for me.
That's right.
It's never over. So,
yeah, I think a part of that nowadays, I don't even think they have to take an ACT score or SAT to get into college anymore.
I'm not sure what the process is, but
I'm
man, if that's the case,
imagine us some of the shame and hurt that we had to deal with. Right. Now these dudes got everything, and they ain't even got to take it.
Right. With all the NIL and the transfer portal, the rules and stuff like that, it's different now, man. If they don't, I'm like, whew, all right, I need to look into that. I'm gonna check into that. Fact check.
Fact check though. I think I'm right.
So you go on and you have a really good basketball career at Bradley. And did you think about were you thinking I have a shot to go to the NBA, or were you thinking like, all right, what's next for me? What was your thought process as you were trying to get to as you was getting through your senior year, finishing up, basketball, thinking like, all right, I mean, if as your friend, I'm gonna sit back and say, I think you're a little too short to go to the NBA. So
yeah, you're right. Here I am. See, here's the beauty of life. Here's the beauty of life. If you live long enough, you are a product of our experiences, right?
Yeah, and absolutely.
So for me, I didn't necessarily think about like how tall I was to make the NBA, because in my mind, man, I can make it. I can make it. We had Dick Vitale, our coach at Bradley knew Dick Vitale. He came and talked to our team. I was a junior. And I was like, man, this is pretty cool. I've heard Dick Vitale on the TV, heard him on the radio. Really a cool announcer. Man, one day he's going to call my name in a game. He's going to do one of our games. And I was excited to meet him. I was thinking the whole time I still had a chance to make it to the NBA. Again, a little bit naive, young, didn't really understand the gravity of really meant. So here I get through my junior year, good season, had a good record. Then my senior year, we make it to almost made it to the Final Four. In the postseason NIT, you get a chance to go to Madison Square Garden and play where the Knicks play. Kudos to the Pacers. Hope they win tomorrow. But I hope I was in a position where I was hopeful that I got a shot to play in the NBA. And then my senior year came around. We had a real good year, NIT, feeling good about it. It didn't really dawn on me until after the season was over. It was like, bro, you too short to make it to the NBA. That guy guard 6'6", and you 6'4", trying to play in the post. You ain't Charles Barkley. You ain't doing it, right? And so then I just had an epiphany, like, okay, what am I going to do next? And then my mind I was going to get my degree. I was going to go to Atlanta and start working. But then I got a phone call about playing football again. And I was like, heck yeah, sign me up. What do I need to do? And so I had an opportunity to work out for the Colts, try it out for them on a one-day tryout kind of thing. And part of this will go in my book one day. I'm gonna put you in it too, Chris. So I took this workout and I went there and they timed me in at 40. I did a bench press test and I ran some routes. And none of it I knew what I was doing. But I was fortunate enough to have one season playing intramural football in college that really got me ready to play in the NFL. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
That's the only football
not many people can say that an intramural sport got them ready to play NFL football.
Who knew?
Man, so you go on, you get a call. I mean, who was that call from, with the Colts? Because, I'm sure I mean, did you have other players at Bradley that, that was getting drafted or getting looked at? So
No,
I just how did they see you? How did they know that you were, a guy that was talented enough to make that switch, make that transition over to football?
Here's one thing for everybody listening. Relationships are so vital to where we go in life. It's not what you know, sometimes it's who you know, right? And so my AD at Bradley knew a scout with the Colts that did the Chicago area. And Chicago was about 2.5 hours north of Peoria. And so Ken Geiger is his name. So Ken Geiger talked to my AD. We can get him a workout. So then I had Hersey Hawkins, who's Bradley's probably the most famous basketball player in the history of Bradley University. He was number 6 draft pick by the Sixers back in the day, in the probably 83, 85, something like that. And his agent got on board and trying to be my negotiator for the Colts. So he called the Colts, got me in for a workout, and that was it. I didn't really know what I was doing. I told you already. I bench pressed 225 9 times, bro. 9.
Basketball player.
Basketball player. And I was probably about 227 pounds when I got on the scale. Wow. And I ran some decent routes. I don't know what a 40 time was, because whatever it was decent enough that they thought, oh, there's something in this kid.
Yeah.
But I didn't know how to run a route. Routes, I didn't know how to run a 40. Sometimes you train to run a 40 time. I was never trained how to run a 40. And caught the ball. I guess I was athletic enough. But after I got done with that one-day workout, the head scout said to me, he said, son, you have some athletic ability, but you don't have a Chinaman's chance at hell of making this football team. So by that point, I was like Ricky Bobby. Whoa! They ain't going to tell me what I can't do.
Oh, man.
So then the organization gave me a workout manual. Just going to my book too, Chris. They gave me a workout manual. I went back to school, back to Peoria. I was a custodian at a gym. I was cleaning toilets, cleaning floors, and they let me use the gym for free because they were a sponsor of the basketball program. And so I went back to Peoria from January to like June, and I put on about 15 pounds of muscle. And I went back and worked out for the Colts, and they signed me to a free agent deal. So then I'm down with the players coming back in off the offseason in February. So I'm now working out with them, and I get through the offseason OTAs. Bro, I didn't take a snap at all. 0. Get to training camp, no different. No snaps whatsoever. No snaps. I'm thinking, why in the whole world did y'all bring me out here to do all this work and don't even give me a real shot to make the team? I was livid, bro. We get through the whole preseason. Nothing. No routes. Even the scout team, Colts playing the Patriots. I couldn't even be the scout tight end for the Patriots. I got 0 reps.
Wow.
So we get through training camp, and they released me. And I remember I was so upset. Again, ACT score, like, come on, bro. This ain't fair. This is not fair. So I walk out the back door through the loading dock, and I see the DB coach, a guy named Pat. I can't think Coach Pat's last name. But he's like, young buck, how you feel? I said, well, I feel disappointed and let down. I just didn't feel like I got a true shot. He's like, we're going to bring you back. They like you. I was like, man, y'all probably tell that to everybody coming through these doors, man, on the way out here. Everybody getting cut. You probably saying he backed up smoking. Back then, coach was smoking. He out there smoking. So I said, man's probably saying this to everybody. So I go home. I'm on the couch about a week. Bling, bling, phone call. Hey, we're going to bring you back for the practice squad. What? Squad Bears? They're going to bring me back? Y'all didn't ever see me do anything. We want you back. I said, all right, cool. I'm getting on the plane. I'm on my way. So I get back to Indy, and through the first 9 games, I'm the scout team tight end. Really don't know what I'm doing. I ain't played football.
But you're getting some reps now. You're getting some reps now.
Now I'm getting some reps. Now
you don't have all those camp bodies anymore.
That's right. I'm getting some reps. So I got to go to work. And so then get through the first 9 games and still on the practice squad. And at that time, there were only 8 practice squad spots. So now I feel real honored compared to now. They got 17 spots for the practice squad today.
17 spots. Wow.
8 back then. So I felt really privileged now thinking back. So then here I am grinding, trying to make the roster. And there was a tight end they had on the roster that shot himself in the foot, literally 9mm, pow, to the foot. Marcus, we're going to activate you. never looked back. His mistake became my reward. Wally Pipp. You don't even know who Thomas McLemore is to this day, but some people don't heard of Marcus Pollard. But Thomas McLemore, you never heard of him. He shot himself in the foot. He got Wally Pipp, and I got a chance to play, and I never looked back. That's a long story short, but all this gonna go in the book one day.
Who was the quarterback at this time?
My first 2 years was Jim Harbaugh.
Okay.
And then after that was Peyton.
So you're part of, you become one of the, staples of high powered prolific offenses. You got Peyton, Edgerrin James, yourself. I mean, Marvin Harrison,
Reggie Wayne, Stokely.
Man, you guys go on a unbelievable run. What was that like playing with guys like that, and how does playing with guys like that shape your leadership? Because I watch you now and how you talk to young people, and being around some of those guys, I see a lot of those characteristics. Were those some of the guys that you looked up to, and how did that really shape who you become as a leader within that locker room?
Yeah, Chris, you said what was it like to play with those guys? You need to ask those guys how it was to play with me.
Good job.
Good job. So, but having that sort of chemistry with teammates and nobody feeling like other than Marv's like, I want the ball, but he was a big time all-time receiver. But the rest of us, we just bonded. It was a great time. Even Marv, we all just got along. And to me, that's the one thing that I can look back now and think how well we gelled. Nobody was like, it's me, it's mine, I do all the work. Although Peyton got a lot of credit, Peyton will tell you that he was very fortunate to play with us as well, which was really cool. And I think having people like that group, older heads like Cornelius Bennett, older heads like Jason Belzer, older heads like Tony McCoy, really helped shape my leadership style. And I think it's really helped me develop how I interact with some of the players to this day. Because if you don't evolve to what you're seeing now, because when we play, Chris, the coach will tell you, run through that wall. You say, okay, you run through the wall. Right. Nowadays, you have to explain to them, if you run through the wall, you'll get this, and then you got to take these steps. So they need all of that. So if you don't adapt and evolve, it's kind of hard for you to assimilate and talk to these guys. But having that older school group and having those teammates and that continuity has helped me propel me to what I'm doing now.
Yeah. So I know Peyton. I know he's a jokester, but I know he's very serious about his business. Mm-hmm. How was it like playing with a guy that was, very detail oriented type, quarterback, and that wasn't just his position. That was with everybody's position. So, how was it playing with a guy like that?
Yeah. Peyton was very determined. I can remember when he first got to campus in Indy, we were sitting having lunch. He said to me, and it was so true. It was so true. When he said it, I said, yeah, buddy, you are doing that. He said, I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to win a championship. That's all I want to do is win a championship. So if I got to be your boy to do it, we ain't got to necessarily be boys, but I'm here for one objective, is to win a championship. And he did that. And the way he approached the game, not that he was a jerk or a butthole to his teammates, but he was very demanding. This is how I want it done. If I tell you it's Easter, you better hunt eggs. That's the kind of mentality he had. But knowing that, showing up and knowing that, to me, you can follow leadership like that because it wasn't demeaning. It wasn't disrespectful. Here's what I like. Here's what I want. I'm the quarterback. This is what we're going to do. And to have that kind of leadership, to me, was very refreshing for me. It didn't bother me at all because I knew what the job description was, and I knew who was going to be the catalyst to get us to where we needed to go, and it was going to be Peyton. And everybody was going to listen to what he had to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you guys went on an unbelievable run, man. And I was fortunate to play with Eli, and then also, get to know Peyton and watch, so it brought my attention to you guys watching the Colts play, and watching you guys just run up and down the field on people was pretty impressive. So as you were going through this, and you now have established yourself as one of the guys in his locker room, what was your process of, like, how long your career wanted to be? Were you thinking about the thing outside of football, what I'm gonna do next, or were you still just, hey, I want to play for 10 years, I want to play for this long? Again, as a basketball guy, as a football guy, it's like, you can get injured really quickly and be done. But as a basketball guy coming in, you're not really thinking about that. You're just kind of like, man, I'm here.
That's how I was. I'm here. I didn't necessarily think about how many years I wanted to play. I didn't think about, man, I want to be a double digit guy. These guys in the locker room now that play football, they still talk that way. For me, I just wanted to play as long as I could. And oftentimes I can remember being laying on the field on game day, stretching and looking up in the ceiling thinking, oh my God, I am in the NFL. I'm pinching myself because this is amazing. How did I get here? And so I never took anything for granted. I never felt like I was too big for the moment. The moment was too big for me. I just was in the moment and relishing in the moment. And so I just enjoyed my time playing. I think, playing basketball for those college years may have saved me a little bit of tread on my tires on the back end.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have some of the wear and tear that some guys do coming into college. And so I was very fortunate that way. But I think some of the coaches, I can't leave them out either. Playing for some of the better coaches that's ever coached in the league, Tony Dungy, Tom Moore, who's still coaching, by the way, 87 years old. Wow. Tom Banner was my first position coach. I can remember when I first got to Indy, we went out on the field and we did 5-yard routes. 5 yards, run out. Go to the next line. 5 yards, run out left. Go up the next 5. And I'm like, Coach, you got me doing these 5 yards out. Yeah, we need to work on your footwork before we do anything else. I said, how about we throw a ball too? It's like, no. We ain't worried about no balls right now. There are more fundamental things that you need to learn about playing ball than catching. I was like, And so for me, in that moment, my mind went to processing the importance of fundamentals. It's not just about catching the ball and scoring touchdowns. What's the process?
Right.
What's the process to getting to catching the balls and scoring touchdowns?
Right. Well, I mean, you were fortunate to play with some unbelievable, Hall of Famers, guys that are, played Pro Bowls and things like that. What was it, as we talking about these different intangibles, what was those intangibles that you saw in some of those guys that set them apart from, good to being great? Yeah.
First person come to mind is Peyton. Not because he was a star, not because he was a quarterback, but when I watched him compete in the off season, running sprints, I'll watch him in the weight room training. I'll watch what he eat. I was of the mindset, you're a quarterback and a white quarterback. You ain't more fast and athletic than me. No, bro, you're not beating me in nothing. But in his mindset, I got to be first. I got to show everybody what to do. I got to be the leader. And so here we are having this competition. It's nothing ever has been spoken. But at the same time, to me, it was friendly competition. Like, I'm better than you. No, bro, I'm better than you. So to have that sort of competitive mindset across the board, everybody felt that way. And so Marvin's like, no, MP, you ain't going to do more than me. No, bro. Reg's is like, no, bro, I'm a young cat. You old dude. No, you ain't beat me. And so we had this inner reaction of competition, but wasn't never necessarily was spoken. We just watch how hard the other person competed. And we had these conversations later. That's how I can say this. Because we had this competition among us, friendly competition, like, no, I wasn't going to never let you beat me. Well, I felt the same way. And so to me, when you can get that sort of camaraderie without saying anything, was probably really what spoke to some of the success that we had.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Now, all right, we're gonna ease back here and do a quick 2-minute here. Like do a little 2-minute drill going into halftime. Some easy soft toss. It's not like players were walking in your office with the end of the world type questions for you. So, all right, here we go. Your favorite game in the NFL?
I would say I often took a family, chartered a bus that drove from Alabama to Indianapolis. Yeah. So I had about 60 people at this game. We were playing the Jets in Indy. I hadn't called a pass the whole game. And in the last 13 seconds of a game, down on about the 7-8 yard line, I ran a stick nod, caught the ball, and Otis Smith was trying to tackle me before I got to the end zone. I have a painted portrait of it. My arm crosses a goal line, just about 5 seconds left on the clock for us to win the game. My whole family there watching this game, and I took that ball and gave it to my mom. It's probably the best feeling for me that I've ever had in that moment. Not a catch in the game until then. Did all this work. We're losing. Peyton finds me with 13 seconds left on the clock, and I drag a dude 5 yards to just get the ball across to break the plane of the goal line for a touchdown for a win. the best moment ever.
That's pretty cool.
Best one ever.
Best trash talker you've ever played or played with?
I'd probably say Derrick Brooks. Derrick Brooks was as much of a talker. He'd tell you, if you throw that slant again, I'm gonna pick it. And I big out dog, he picked it. He is a real, he is legit, but he was a good trash talker too. He lets you know, I'm about to knock you down. Boom, knock you down.
All right, your favorite basketball movie that you still pull out?
Blue Chips.
All
with
right.
Shaq and Nick Nolte.
Yeah.
And the little bags they give the money, bag of cash back then. That's probably my favorite.
Because it takes you back to when you was getting those bags, huh?
Nah, I didn't get no bag.
All right. One teammate you'll call to bail you out of jail.
Dallas Clark. Dallas is, Dallas got inducted into the Ring of Honor there in Indianapolis. And in his speech, he recognized me for getting him to being in that ring. And we have a really good relationship to this day. Dallas Clark would be the one guy because he's such like Clark Kent, mild-mannered, just easy going from our corn-fed country boy. I used to call him Clark Kent, but it was a great dude. Great dude.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, we'll ease back in here real quick here. Marcus, now that you're the player director for the Jacksonville Jaguars, first give us, what is the role of a player engagement now, I guess is what it's called. Give us tell us what that means, but then also tell us what are the things that you're trying to pass along to the players that you are now mentoring that's underneath your umbrella.
Yeah, I think the thing that my role is geared towards is helping rookies transition into the NFL and what being a pro is truly about, both on and off the field. And then the other aspect of what I do is to help them transition out, because we all know NFL means not for long. And so to give them some insight of what they do, and in order to get them to transition out, figuring out what they can do, I have to meet them where they are. And I think you mentioned that earlier in the earlier segment where we talked about meeting people where they are. And I have to do that with our players and meet them where they are. So when they are finished, I've built a relationship and established a relationship where, hey, I know you are interested like Travis Hunter right now. I know Travis loves fishing. So Travis wants to be a pro angler one day where he's on TV and boat fishing and catching fish. And like, Travis, let's work that direction. Now I know that. Let's start setting you up for that. So when you get done playing, okay, you got to go fish and get paid to fish. And so anytime you can get that sort of rapport and a relationship with a guy, it can help them transition out. I wish player engagement was a little bit more earlier in my career. Probably would have helped me navigate things a lot better. But my whole time I was playing football, I always wanted to coach. Yeah. So when I got done playing, I did coach for about 4 years. And I was like, okay, let me transition to the NFL. High school coaching is not the space I really want to coach. But I felt, and it's still somewhat of a coaching role and player development. I'm life coaching now. I'm teaching guys about life. Yeah. And I think the thing that I impress upon them the most is, that name on the back of your jersey has to carry more weight than the one on the front. Because if you take care of the one on the back, the one on the front will take care of itself.
Now, how do you handle this generation of athlete who's, when we were coming in, like this was our first big shot at money, making some money and being able to take care of our family and take care of all our different responsibilities. Now you have a generation of athletes coming in that's already have that established. Do you see this? Do you see them, ahead of the curve when it comes to, how to take care of, their money, their taxes and things like that? Or do you still see the, fish out of water from, some of these guys when they come into the league that you have to spend more time with on helping them handle, the responsibility of that kind of money that, again, it's like almost like winning the lottery. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, that is another great question. I can remember back to my first season in 2013, there was a player we had here from the University of Kentucky, and I will leave him nameless. Didn't know how to balance a checkbook. But back then, it wasn't the same technology and things that we have. So he didn't know how to write a check. I'm like, you don't know how to write a check? What? So that just baffled me. But then when I think about 2025, draft class. These dudes got money already. And when I tell you they're so sharp and in tune about what it is that they want to do when they're done playing, they all want to be businessmen. They all want to worry about their brand, how social media posts. And so there are so many other obstacles. Sometimes they look for validation in external means. But for the most part, these dudes are so wired in. And so I'm so impressed with this class, particularly for our rookie class this year, is that how smart and knowledgeable they are about everything. We got one guy in this rookie class did taxes for his teammates at Notre Dame. He did their tax return. I said, what? 2 years ago, we had an attorney. He's a little bit an older guy, but he was already an attorney. He had already went to law school and was a rookie. I'm like, this is incredible. And so from when we came in, the more they're getting exposed to, having to pay taxes, having to learn about NIL, what to do with it, how to invest your money, how to do this, how to do that. To me, it's just so mind blowing that they're so already in tune to what's happening with their money and where they want to go and how they see themselves later.
Yeah, and hanging into that space there, what is it that what are some of the things that you like to see from young guys as they are transitioning into the league, that from a coachability to character, leadership, the composure aspect of it, what awareness of who they are in those spaces that you would like for them there to be more of as they transition into the league, so that then you can then help them set them up for success as they are playing and then getting ready to make that transition out of the league.
Yeah, I got one word that'll sum it all up for me. Sponge. When players come in as sponges, they'll listen. You can take somebody who's willing to listen, absorb all the information that they're getting, and then squeeze it out and use it. That's the kind of player you were looking for. And I think that this modern day athlete, you have to explain your why. But I know in this rookie class, there are so many sponges in this group, and they'll listen. So if you got a guy that'll listen, you can teach him to do anything. But if you got a guy that's a knucklehead, like we've had some knuckleheads here that's gone on and went to other places, it was kind of tough to meet them where they are. I mentioned that earlier. But if I'm trying to help you and you don't want help, it's kind of hard for me to help. But if you allow me to help you and you absorb this information, this experience that I'm trying to give to you, it'll take you a lot further along down the road than you trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've looked up and got a really good rookie class, because I would assume that, not all your rookie classes come in that way.
They don't. Here's one prime example. So we had rookie minicamp a few weeks ago. That Thursday night they got here, they got their install. They went to the hotel and was in the parking lot doing a walkthrough as a group, offense and defense.
Wow.
Never heard
It's just
it,
young guys.
Not prompted by the coaches, and all just the rookies that was in rookie minicamp. All of them were downstairs. I
That's
said, y'all got to be so impressive that those young men thought enough. Let's get together tonight before we eat, before we go to bed. Let's just go walk through this install. Blow me away.
Hey, well, that's a testament to the new staff. They know what they're looking for, and they've finding guys that I think about. Gladstone comes from come out of the LA area with Les Snead. You think about Cooper Kupp. How cerebral he is, and so it seems like they've got a handle on what type of cerebral guys they want to to be a part of this Jacksonville Jaguar team. So yeah. I'm excited to track you guys and see how your young guys are going to do this year, but also just to from watching your position, just watching these guys, how I watch the game, how they're handling, talking, and walking with their teammates. That's what I'm excited to see. And it sounds like this rookie class is going to be the class that really, they're going to pop off the tape when you're sitting there on TV watching how they are really engaged with their teammates.
Yep. It's going to be really fun to see. And it's the biggest rookie class I've ever had. It's 31 of them. I think the prior biggest class was 22. And to see them operate as young guys right now, it's been super impressive. They work their tails off. They listen. They take notes. They're attentive. They do. And to me, it's like a dream come true. I've never had a rookie class, in my opinion. And I can say this because I've had 14 of them now. This rookie class by far is the most cerebral and in tune to what it's going to take to be the cornerstone to take this organization to the next step. I'm really impressed with this rookie class.
Awesome. Well, Marcus, as we start to wrap up here, I have a couple more questions for you, maybe three. My first one for you is, if you had to give a piece of advice, thinking about the era that we're in right now, to a incoming college freshman that's playing ball, what would that piece of advice be? And that same piece of advice for, not the same piece of advice, but a piece of advice for a parent as they're trying to navigate this whole space of transfer portal, NIL, may have to take a different route, very similar to, what you had to take a different route to go to, JUCO first to get to where you were. We're going to see that happening more, not because of ACT scores. It's going to be because of, the transfer portal. Now you're competing with guys who've had 2 or 3 years of reps.
Experience. Yep.
Yeah. And so any kind of advice you have for that athlete and for that parent?
Yeah. So first thing I got to say, both for parent and athlete, don't be afraid to ask questions, because knowledge is power. And we ask questions. Some of the things that we didn't understand that we just talked about earlier, had we asked questions, we'd probably been in a little bit better position. But when you don't know, you don't know. It's just that easy. Then I'd say for incoming freshmen into college, connect with a person that you can trust and that you can lean on for advice, whether that be an older teammate, whether that be a position coach, whether that be a player engagement director. Find somebody in that organization that you feel like you can trust, and only you can decide what that trust looks like. And then for a parent with an incoming freshman, give them space to breathe. Sometimes parents can be this helicopter parent and taking, hey, what's going on? What you doing? Well, yeah, no, give them space. Like I talked about earlier, let them grow, let them develop. Parents, don't blow them up. They're going to be fine. You've done a great job of raising them. Trust that and know that they're going to do what's right.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, Marcus, one of my last questions for you is, when you think about your career, how you've got to where you are, what are several intangibles that has made you who you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question, Chris. I think I'm a really good listener. I think the thing that, as I can think back when I was a young buck trying to learn how to play the game, I would stand behind whoever was the first person in line and I'd watch. I listened to what the coach was saying to him. So to me, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. We should listen more than we say. And so I think that's the thing that I've really grasped over the years is I'm a really good listener, especially for those guys in the locker room. When it comes to anything that I do, I'm a good listener. And I think the other thing that's gotten me to where I am now is about relationships. I think my relationship with some of the people that I spent time with in Indianapolis, some of the people that I've gotten to know in Seattle, people that I met in Atlanta, Kevin Winston, Lamont Winston, Kevin Winston. These are some HPEs that's kind of helped me develop and grow into the person I am now. And so if I didn't listen, and if I didn't build those relationships, I don't think I'd be doing this job right now if it wasn't for those folks and those two abilities to listen and build those relationships.
Yeah, that's it. Marcus, I think it's a testament to the perseverance and the resilience that you have, that in the listening and paying attention and watching that's gotten you to where you are, man. So I really appreciate you jumping on, sharing your story. This has been fun for me to reconnect with an old teammate and a good friend of mine. And so thank you for jumping on and being here today. And I'm here in Tennessee, so as a former Titan, I will have to say that, you guys got to come see us and we will be ready.
I'm actually looking forward to seeing 2 of your players. No, just one. You got the quarterback, Cam, to hear his story and to follow his evolution from not getting any recruits and going to a small school and then go to a small school and then end up at Miami being the first overall pick in the draft. Are you kidding me?
Impressive.
That says something. Oh my God, it says something about his ability to handle adversity, The mental toughness he's got to have and the fortitude. I'm excited to watch him play. I really am. Hopefully he don't play that well against us, but I'm looking forward to watching him play. Chris, I want to tell you, brother, I've really appreciated the time. Thanks for having me on. I've gotten a chance to probably say the things to you that you didn't know about me prior to. And so to me, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. So anytime you want me on, I love to talk more ball. I enjoy spending time with close friends like you. And I do say this, when I get to Tennessee, we got to play golf and we got to have a cigar.
I'm ready. Let me know.
Okay.
Let me know. We'll get that on the book soon.
Okay.
Marcus, my friend, you have a good one, man. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, brother.
All right, later.
All right, later.